Hello everyone, welcome to the channel if you're new. I'm Wolflaugh, and today I'm going to be doing a different style of video than I'm used to doing. I will be basically doing a sort of review. I just, as of about an hour ago, finished watching The War of the Rohirrim, went to see it in theaters. I believe it's opening day today. I don't know, I knew it was coming out around this time, so as a huge fan of Lord of the Rings and a huge Tolkien fan in general, I'm going to give you something to look at, by the way, while this goes on. Because who else are we going to play, guys? Who else? Besides Rohan. But I'm going to give you my thoughts on the film. And, you know, I looked at some of the reviews coming out about this movie, and honestly, I think some of them are kind of bad takes. Not in poor taste. I understand where they're coming from, because we as a fandom in Lord of the Rings, and in general, fans of a lot of masculine franchises, have sort of seen our franchise is very disrespected. I actually think this movie, despite having a feminine lead, was extremely well done. There's a lot of takes. I think Nerd of the Rings, gotta shout out Nerd of the Rings. If you're a Lord of the Rings fan, you probably know who this is. He's just a dad, basically, who's a huge Lord of the Rings fan and makes content about it. I think his review was first of all the most respectful, and it had the take that I agree with most, in that this was a well done movie. You should go see this. But basically, this is going to be a review, just mainly giving my thoughts while I just play this game and probably defeat Isengard, hopefully, by the end. So, first appearance of editing Francis here. That didn't happen. We got fucking crushed. So if you're looking forward to the gameplay side of this, just look away and turn on the audio. But I thought that his review, Nerd of the Rings review, was the most respectful out of all of them. I think I had the best take that this is a good movie with some flaws, because no movie's perfect except for Lord of the Rings trilogy, The Dark Knight. In my opinion, also the Godfather trilogy, well, the first two at least, are perfect movies. But yeah, I think this movie was done well. There were definitely a few parts that I think could have been done better, but also those things would have hindered the movie in the current state that it was. The conflict is about a war that happens 200 years before the War of the Ring. It involves Rohan and Dunland, who's over here. There are a few characters that I will be talking about. Some of them I think were done really well. Some of them I don't think were done very well. I'll get the easy spoiler-free parts out of the way. I think the character of Wolf, he's the main antagonist of the film. He is done so well. I think he's nearly... There are two 10 out of 10 characters in this movie. Him and Helm Hammerhand. And I think both of them are done perfectly. First of all, both of them are Shakespearean tragedies. Down to the T. Starting to place of power end up, because of their choices and their mistakes and their hubris. Alright, hopefully I remember to edit this part. I did accidentally just spoil a part. But anyways, they're down to the T. They're both Shakespearean tragedies. And because of their choices, their ending, and the way they end up by the climax of the movie, it's entirely deserved. It's the choices they made. It's what they've done. So I think that they were done excellently. Helm Hammerhand is a fucking badass. Oh my god. Sorry, there's not going to be a swear-free review, because that guy is just... holy. Now, the main character, Hera, I think is a little bit flawed. Mostly because of her name. There should be no Heras in Middle-earth. That was just a choice that I don't think worked well. That's a Greek name for a Tolkien character. Doesn't work well at all. If they changed her name to something else, which obviously hindsight is 2020 or whatever, it would have been a little better. But overall, I think that she was done all right. She was definitely better. If you're worried about a woman ruining the movie, first of all, it's 2024 and you shouldn't care. No, you should care, because Rey ruined Star Wars. Notice how her follow-up, Jyn Erso, did not ruin Star Wars, because Jyn was actually well written. Gosh, who else ruined a franchise? Captain Marvel fucked up Marvel for a while. Black Panther was ruined by the fact that Chadwick Boseman died and was replaced by a less likable sibling in the movie. But yeah, I don't think that Hera ruined this movie. I think she did sort of shun one of the characters, and I'll get to that in the spoiler section. But overall, I think that she was done well. That's my spoiler-free part. Just 3 characters I'm going to talk about, 3 main characters. Now we're going to the spoiler part. So you've been warned. Go watch the movie. I cannot say this enough. Don't take my opinions, because I'm an idiot who's can't multitask and talk and play video games and shit at the same time. If you were a little bit not used to anime, I do understand that it's a bit... I'm not an anime watcher, but I've seen enough of it. My friends are fucking weebs. But I'm used to the style. I've seen enough of it to this point where I'm not weirded out by it. If you are, that's totally understandable. If that's the reason that you don't like it, that's actually a valid reason. You know, anime is not for everyone. But as a story level, I don't see a valid reason why you can't at least enjoy this film. Because at least as a Shakespearean tragedy, oh my god, it is beautiful. The reason I'm bum rushing Isengard, by the way, is just because I want to, and I can. Alright, spoiler section. First of all, I'm going to spoil the plot. If you want the plot to be spoiled, you are a masochist. But also, you're just like me. I guess I'm a masochist, because this is a good enough movie to the point where you should just go watch it. I only ever get plot spoiled for stuff I'm never going to watch anyways. I regrettably made the decision of getting the plot spoiled for Game of Thrones. Did he just...
We're ready to ambush the enemy.
Where did this guy come from? What?
Orders.
Is tunnel under the mountain? Is this Warhammer 3? Anyways, it starts off with the prologue, yada yada. It's actually a really good setup, in my opinion. Good use that setup and payoff. Every screenwriter knows how to do this. Of her trying to like touch an eagle and ride an eagle, which I actually like that scene. It instantly stated the fact that this movie is better than Rings of Power because it actually knows how to show and not tell. It knows how to shut the fuck up and not have annoying ass characters. Because I'm going to be honest, these characters were very bearable. There's maybe like one annoying character, who we'll get to in a bit. And I think he's one of my probably bigger gripes within the film. But, I mean, overall, the character's very good. Hi, Editing Francis here to tell you that I forgot to explain what I meant by show and not tell. What I meant is that by showing us that Hera, is trying to touch the eagle and try to pet the eagle or like get to know or whatever the fuck it is with the eagle. Not fuck the eagle. Don't fuck the eagle. She is full of wonder. She's adventurous. And while the movie does tell us this, it also shows us through just this scene that she's willing to take risks that other people are not. But yeah, she's trying to tame not tame an eagle, but touch an eagle. Like one of the flying eagles of Manwë. And it kind of goes unsuccessfully. She doesn't like die, but the thing just, you know, buggers off, decides that, you know, I don't want to be touched right now. Which, you know, if the original producers of Lord of the Rings, Harvey Weinstein, decided to listen to that, maybe they wouldn't be in fucking jail. So, yeah, then she just rides back to the capital, 'cause she's the king's daughter. Main character, Hera, is the king's daughter. Again, she shouldn't be named that because it's a Greek goddess's name, and this is Tolkien, not the bloody Greeks. Tolkien didn't like fucking men in the ass as much. She figures out that, oh, there's this delegation from, I believe it was Westmarch, who are coming and holding a council. This delegation from the Westmarch is Freka. He's the lord of the Westmarch. Whatever. He's a Dunlending, basically, and he's in charge of the western half of Rohan. Not western half, western bit of Rohan. So I think he's a little bit west of the Gap of Rohan, which is where Isengard is located. They come to the king, Helm Hammerhand, with a wedding proposal for Freka's son, Wolf, to his daughter. Helm says no. He's like, and there's a lot of insults going against each other. They don't like that. So Helm's like, let's take this outside, man to man. They do. And then with one punch, Helm kills Freka, and Wolf is very mad, and then he gets banished because he threatens the king. He actually has a very understandable motivation. You killed my dad. I want revenge on you now. Both Helm was in the right to beat the shit out of Freka. He was not in the right to kill him, and it was mostly an accident because this guy's an absolute Chad. And Wolf is in the right to be angry because that's his dad. And his dad was trying to get the control of the throne. But, in fairness, Helm could have been like, if your son marries my daughter, and any of my sons die, because he's worried about assassinations, basically. Any of my sons die, I will beat the ever-living shit out of you. And he definitely could. But anyways, that doesn't happen, so Freka's dead. Wolf swears revenge, gets kicked out of Rohan forever, and Hera is not happy, because Wolf was her friend. They're like childhood friends. Anyways, a few years go by, stuff's been happening, and the king, Helm, is like, this is a bit worrying. I am a little scared to let you go off on your own, so he sends her cousin, Freylof, who is actually pretty much the main character of the story in the books, to be like her bodyguard. So they come across this corpse of a Southron, which is a little odd because Southrons don't go this far north regularly. Oh my god, you fucking dick. So they're a little weirded out. But they're like, all right, you know what? Well, this could just be a random raiding party going to Gondor. They were wrong. There's a Mumakil there, which is just a big elephant if you don't know. Stuff happens. Eventually, she gets kidnapped by Wolf's cronies. One of them's like a general. He's kind of important. He's kind of just there the whole time. He's not really that important. All you need to know is that he's there. He's the character who kidnaps her. That's pretty much most of what he does as insignificance of the story. She gets rescued, and she was actually taken to Isengard, which was pretty cool. It was kind of a cameo, but it was also accurate to the lore. And yada yada, stuff happens. They figure out that Wolf is going to war, and he's going to try to kill the entirety of the people of Rohan. Important stuff happens. They burn down some villages. Wolf burns down some villages. He heads for Edoras, capital of Rohan. Anyways, they're on their way to Edoras, and it turns out it's a trap. Edoras, or it's a trap for Rohirrim to ride out and meet them in battle, because the Rohirrim are betrayed, and all of a sudden, the Mumakil, who Helm Hammerhand had dismissed as being a part of this, pop out and fuck him up. Yeah, Helm Hammerhand dismissed it. So this threat is like seen as, it won't happen. It did happen. Everybody got fucked up. The people of Edoras have to flee. Edoras is burned down, and one of Helm's sons is killed in the process. One of my main gripes in the film is that there's not enough time to develop her brothers, Hera's brothers. They have plenty of time to develop Freylof, which I think they did a good job with that. And her younger brother, Haleth, I believe, or which one's the younger? It's Haleth and Hama, which there's a Hama here. I know, it's a little confusing. This guy's third age, but Tolkien understood that names can be reused, in fact. But yeah, Haleth and Hama, I think it was. If I'm calling him a different name, someone's going to rage at me in the comments. Basically, they're not developed enough. Neither of them were given motivation besides being the father's sons. Which, if the movie was about Helm Hammerhand, no one would complain about that at all. Because it's like, oh, a father loves his sons, yada yada. And the second one is captured. His captured son is then taken to Helm's Deep, where this is where a plot hole happens. The Helm's Deep archers could have just fucking shot Wolf. Wolf was there. It's not like he took his whole army and a bunch of henchmen there. Wolf is just there. The guy is there. He could easily be killed. He's in archer range. This is a dumb trope, I think, that, oh, we want to have a head-on confrontation, but none of the actual consequences of a head-on confrontation. They could have crushed this rebellion with a swift stroke if they just, shot the guy. But, that's... Too many shows do that for me to fault this... Oh, don't do that. Too many shows do that at this point for me to fault this one show for doing it. It's like a thing that, unfortunately, every show does. And I wish they didn't, because it's really stupid. His second son is killed right before his eyes after Helm offers a truce for Wolf to instead kill him. And he's like, yeah, just spare my son. You can kill me. You can and then go fuck off. Wolf is like, no, I want to kill everyone. And in turn, boom, Shakespearean tragedy right there. Yeah, Helm's sons are killed. They're trapped in the Hornburg at the time. Trapped in Helm's Deep, basically. And they're probably gonna fucking die. And Helm is also very sick. He got struck by a few arrows during the siege of Edoras, or during the battle for Edoras. And so it's time for the main character, Hera, to sort of step up in a leadership role. Which, actually, I think they did well. I didn't think they murdered, like, the idea of the story, or the core story. This is where kind of the pacing changes up. It's a bit of a weird change up. They fade to black at one point after they're talking about how Helm Hammerhand is basically fucked. A bunch of Dunlendings are dying in the camp. Wraith of Helm Hammerhand is killing us. So in the actual original story, literally, Helm Hammerhand is just going out his sickly ass out of fucking vengeance, going and destroying these Dunlendings, basically like causing fear within the Dunlending camp. Hera goes to look for him, he finds him, and ultimately they have to escape. And he dies protecting her. You see how her addition is actually not hurting the story. He dies randomly in the snow in the fucking book. Which I guess is thematic. You can die randomly, but that's not Tolkien's way. I actually think this addition of protecting his family and ultimately suffering from the choices he made the story better. I don't think it was contrived. I think it made a lot of sense. But yeah, he dies protecting her. Probably the way it should have gone in the original story. I'm gonna be honest. They actually did a really good creative choice of creating this character that feels like she belongs there and has a big impact. And ultimately, she tries to use... She does sort of does the same thing where she sends out any like call for help for cousin Freylof. She sends him the crown of her father, and she ultimately prepares to sacrifice herself in order to, just her father did, in order to save her people. I think that overall the story was good, right? Few minor things I had to talk. This did take stuff away from Freylof. Because in the original story, he kills Wolf, she kills Wolf this time. However, I'm going to counter that. You cannot have, right, an antagonist, or it's hard to get a good antagonist who is barely affecting the protagonist. If the story was based around Freylof, it would have been flawed in that he does not really ever meet Wolf aside from that one time. And I guess in this instance where he goes to rescue Hera. If it was framed around Helm Hammerhand, those are the two like options. Framed around Helm Hammerhand, the issue is he dies. Like, you can have a protagonist that dies, but the way it ends in the book is that you either have to have both of them be simultaneous protagonists, which would increase the runtime by probably about an hour, as you see Freylof try to help out people of Rohan. And Mulan actually does the thing where they don't meet very much until the end. But the difference is we see Mulan's reaction. It's hard to do a reaction very well to a villain when your main character is 1,000 miles away looking from Dunharrow. It just doesn't work. Basically, a lot of people, I think Nerdotic's take was downright retarded. Freylof is kind of either going to be sidelined regardless of which route you go. You can't have him be the main protagonist. You just can't. In a 2-hour movie, you can't have either the possibly primary protagonist be the primary protagonists. You can have the story of Helm Hammerhand be told, but the issue is it's going to feel anticlimactic. He does die protecting his people, but then if it's just focused on him, how are you going to have an epilogue without also shoving in the story of Freylof? Having a middle ground where there's a character who is our lens through viewing the world, who's not originally mentioned in the story, and who does have a part in the protagonist-antagonist duality, makes the story better. I actually think this is the one. If it wasn't a woman, they would not have been complaining. This is one of the times where I think it's acceptable to have a different character be played, and also she's tied into the initial conflict of the marriage proposal, because at least it's an existing character. Now, we didn't know her name; it was an unnamed character. I think that's what people are sort of having gripes about. Is her name? Hera is not the fucking Tolkien name. It should have been like Eowyn, which would have been really stupid as well, but for different reasons. Probably like Heon. There you go. Boom. Make that movie. Change the lines. I only think the only thing that could have been changed was the final duel with Wolf. Maybe should have been given to Freylof. But the issue with that is that they barely meet each other. Do you know how boring a movie about Tolkien's politics would be? You could probably make it interesting by adding like cool speeches or something. But I'm gonna be honest. I don't want to see a movie centered on Freylof. I'd rather see the Helm Hammerhand side of it. And this was a good lens into which to give us the Helm Hammerhand side of it, without having it be like a 4-hour movie with the Freylof subplot of him gathering support, which would be monotonous, somewhat tedious, and I think would kind of detract from the overall story of self-sacrifice. Right, I think having Hera be the focal point, that after Helm dies, we're still in with the people of Gondor. She also has an emotional stake in the conflict because she doesn't want to. She likes Wolf as a friend, which is actually kind of funny. This is going to be incel fuel. Which, by the way, I'm not saying if you like a male-led movie, you're an incel. You're absolutely not an incel. But this will be incel material. Just people are saying, "Oh, Wolf was the good guy." It's gonna be pretty funny. But I think the final scene, just it doesn't necessarily work where she kills Wolf, but it does work because who else are you going to have?
Yes, my lord.
Kill Wolf. I'll tell you right now, there's no one else in the story who can really do it from an emotional standpoint. I think there's an issue with Endgame that I have. You might be wondering, what's your issue with Endgame? The scene with the Scarlet Witch, where she's like, "Oh, you took everything from me." We understand why she hates him. He doesn't know. This isn't personal for him. You have to have a personal grudge, in my opinion, or at least there should be a decent one between the villain and the hero if they're gonna 1v1. You have to have a 1v1 in this movie because Wolf has to die. Why would you have a character who doesn't meet him for the whole movie kill him? It works in a book because the story is not necessarily about the hero-villain complex. It's more about saving Rohan, the idea. But that doesn't... I don't know if that translates well to a screen. I think in a movie where the villains are memorable, having a villain, first of all, he's an effective villain. Honest to God, he's, I would say Scar level in terms of actual imposingness, but in terms of like what the fuck he does, think about it this way: he doesn't necessarily kill. He does kill 2 people, or 1 person at least. 2 people under his orders, 1 person directly. No! Do not charge into that. Don't charge into that. Don't charge into that. He just up and kills both of Helm's sons. He just does it. And I'm gonna be honest, he's an effective villain in that way. He also gets Helm killed. With obviously, the scene was more about Helm than it was anyone else. Oh, we gotta get out of here. So he but he does accomplish his goals, and it's by his own hubris that his downfall occurs, which is the best type of villain. Oh, nice. Which is the best type of villain because he's has a direct moral conflict with characters, and it's all about the character's survival because he's a real threat. He's not a soft villain. We have a lot of soft villains nowadays. I think Kylo Ren is a perfect example of a soft villain. So I think that it works better because they changed the lore rather than working worse like something like Rings of Power does. The story of Rings of Power can actually work better without the lore being changed. So a story like Rings of Power, you could easily not change the lore and just have the existing characters of Durin the Third and of Celebrimbor be creating these rings for preservance of their realm. You can have, there's a lot of these great stories and friendships within the lore that Tolkien already wrote. This is unlike War of the Rohirrim, where you either have to focus on Freylof, who, I'll say it again, is not present for when the main shit happens. He can see the results, but it doesn't feel personal like they want it to, and like actually a story like this should, because it's a personal grudge that starts the war. How is Freylof going to be talked into this? I mean, obviously he has that scene early on of like saying, oh, we should retreat to the strongholds, retreat to the Hornburg or to Dunharrow. Muster at Dunharrow, actually. And the king and Helm is like, no, we're not going to do that. So Freylof fucks off to Dunharrow. Well, okay. How's the story going to work? Is it just going to be him sitting, looking west towards the Hornburg the whole time? That's not a good story. You have to have a character inside that's not just going to fucking die before the actual conclusion. So you have to have a character like Helm be a sort of relegated side character. And again, it can't be about the relationship between Helm and his nephew because he sends his nephew away. How are you going to have that relationship be built out if he sends his nephew away? It's retarded that people are complaining that that it's not about an existing character. This is the one story where you can create, and I think they did it well, through the eyes of an outside character who's actually in the story. It's not like they made up Helm's daughter. Helm's daughter is integral to the plot and why this whole thing happened. So giving her a larger role is not a bad idea. Making her a warrior princess, it wouldn't work if it was anywhere but Rohan. Rohan's known for having that shield maiden culture. It's known for Eowyn. It's known for there's another like a retired shield maiden in the movie. So again, go watch it. Go watch the movie. Obviously, make up your own decision. But I think listening to these other interviews that are again pretending like this is the next Force Awakens. No, I disagree. I think I'm going to put my foot down here and say I disagree with that. I think this is not the next Galadriel. This is not the next Rey. But yeah, this isn't like where they're putting a woman where she doesn't belong. This makes sense within the world. This is established in Peter Jackson's Trilogy 2. Long ago, the Shield Maidens of Rohan would have fought to the last breath once their men had fallen. Or a line similar to that. Why on God's green earth are we complaining about this franchise in this situation being wrong when we could be directing our complaints towards Amazon, who actually made a horrible series? This is a good movie. It is a cash grab. You're correct. But only from the studio side, because the actual artistic direction is beautiful. If you're a fan of just pretty things, go watch this movie. This looks beautiful. This looks like Lord of the Rings, just put to a different medium. It reminded me in some scenes of the Bakshi film, which, oh my god, fans hate that. Actually, no, fans like that. Critics hate that. The outside world hates that. I actually liked it, and it reminded me of that, because that is an artistic film about Lord of the Rings. This is an artistic film about Lord of the Rings. And actually that movie is the whole reason we got the trilogy, because that introduced young Peter Jackson to Lord of the Rings. It's one of the things he cited as an inspiration. And some of his best scenes actually came from. You remember the scene where the Nazgul are in Bree, and they're gonna go stab the hobbits. Really tense scene. Not in the source material. That was ripped from the Bakshi film, and it was done. It was a little creepier in the Bakshi film. I'm gonna be honest. I think this is a film that does not warrant the hate it's been getting, and it's not a ton of hate. A lot of people are very respectful. I want to keep that known. It's not a very disrespectful review. I think there are some justified or some warranted and justified complaints about, you know, replacing a man with a woman. But in this situation, it works better because the story can't function on a personal level if you don't have the hero meet the villain. To everyone who's concerned about this movie being a takeover, I understand your concerns, but again, I will say this again, it's not another New Hope. It is better. With that being said, I ranted for like an hour. God, I should have clipped this thing a few more times. That way it won't be pain editing. Hopefully this will be out by the 14th. It's the 13th near midnight when I'm recording this. Hopefully it'll be edited well. And I hope to see you all soon. If you did enjoy this video and my take on the movie, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.